Hi there, it's Kira and I am here with a scrapbook layout process video, and in this video I'm going to be focusing on color. So I found this card in my stash. This is a Project Life card from Citrus Twist Kits, and I really liked the colors on this card, that aqua and the yellow. I'm going to be adding in a third color as well, but the two colors were kind of my jumping off point. And I also used the speech bubbles on the card as my inspiration for this layout as well. So you can see that I'm cutting out these speech bubbles. I had just done this in Word. I had found some speech bubbles in Google Images. I had put my conversation pieces into the speech bubbles, and then I'm just hand cutting them out so they didn't have the black line around them. And these will serve as kind of a little bit of journaling along with an embellishment part of my layout. And I just kind of thought it looked kind of fun. So I'm going to be, like I said, focusing on color. And the easiest way for me to start a scrapbook layout, like if I don't know what I want to do at all, if I have really no ideas, I really like to color block. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be using some hand stitching to kind of be my base to my color blocking, and then I'm going to be putting embellishments on top of the stitched lines that I'm going to be doing. So I'm just doing like 3 stitched lines on top, 4 stitched lines in the middle, and then 3 stitched lines down at the bottom. I'm using just a ruler and a pencil to mark where I want my lines to be. I didn't want them like, in a specific area or a specific width apart. I just kind of freehanded where I wanted them, what I thought looked good. Then I'm going to be using my tailor's awl here to pierce some holes in my paper. This is just easiest way to stitch on papers if you pre-punch your holes. So I'll be punching my holes here, and then I'm going to be using some embroidery thread to stitch on my layout. So you can see here that I had already pulled out the colors of thread that I wanted, and then pulled out some embellishments that matched those colors too. So I'll grab my needle and I'm just going to stitch each of those lines. The top lines will be in yellow, the middle lines will be in that kind of teal aqua color, and then the bottom lines will be navy. I always do just a simple back stitch. I don't try and get fancy with my stitching at all, because I think that it's just a fun element to add, and it doesn't take a lot of time to do a simple back stitch. But obviously if you're into doing the fancier stitches, feel free. So I won't make you guys watch all of my stitching, but I just wanted you to see kind of how I did it. So here's just a few simple back stitches in the yellow, and then I'll go down with the other colors down the page. I just like the texture that it adds and just that pop of color. It's just gonna be really fun on a page. This would also be easy to do with just strips of paper. If you want to do pattern paper, this technique that I'm doing will work really well for that. So there's my finished stitched page. I've got all my colors there. And so now I'm going to just start embellishing my page. So color blocking, if you're not familiar, is where you're going to take embellishments in each of the colors that you have there and just kind of layer them together. So I'll be putting all of the yellow embellishments at the top, the kind of aqua bluish colors in the middle, and then the navy down at the bottom. And then with my little speech bubbles, I'll be layering those on top just to have them kind of go down the page in a way that makes sense with the conversation. So this layout is about my son. He must have been sick when I wrote down this little conversation. Whenever he says something funny, either of my kids say something funny, I always like to type it up in my phone, but I didn't really write any context to this, so I assume that he was sick this day. And he told me and my husband that caretakers take care of their children, or take care of their sick children, or something along those lines. And I was like, well, do you need some caretaking? And he said yes. And then my husband was like, well, what do you need? And he said, I need some caretaking. And that was the conversation. It was just really funny, and we just kind of laughed. And I'm not sure what we ended up giving him or what he needed at that point, but it was just a cute little conversation that we had with him. So that's what's in the speech bubbles, and I kind of typed up on the side that, you know, it's not fun being sick, but, you know, when at least you're able to kind of voice up and say what you need at the time that you are feeling sick. So that's what the journaling is on the other page. So you'll see that I am using some embellishments on the left-hand side, and I'm just mirroring the same color blocking that I have on the right-hand side. So I'm putting down at the bottom, there's like a little label, and I put some embellishments on top of the label. I will end up putting my date there, and then behind my picture, I'm going to be putting some of these kind of aqua teal embellishments. And the picture there is just a picture of my son and our dog. I don't have any pictures from this exact moment, but I don't think that really matters. I just wanted a picture of him since he's the one that's having the conversation with us. The title, I just really didn't know what I want to do for the title, and I probably struggled the most with this, but I like pre-made titles. I like all the stickers you see at the top there that have just words already out, like written out for me. I think that's the easiest way for me to come up with a title. So I started this one with Good Times because I had that little piece of ephemera there. And most of my ephemera, I will say, most of it is from Citrus Twist kits. I keep all of my ephemera. It's all sorted by color. It's not sorted by manufacturer or anything like that. So most of it is Citrus Twist, but there could be stuff from other manufacturers in there as well. But I just decided to start this title with Good Times, and then I added and Good Vibes. I'm using my T-square ruler here just to kind of give a general area to the title of where I want it to line up. I don't need it to be lined up exactly, but I didn't want it to kind of trail off sometimes. How you start putting letters on and then they start kind of going down and you didn't even realize that was happening. So I just wanted to kind of have a general area of where the letters should go, but I'm not lining it up precisely on the line. And these alphas are from Citrus Twist kits. I believe they have them in pretty much every color. At least I have almost every color in my stash. But I wanted to stick with the yellow with this layout since I am sticking with the color blocking on this left page as well. So I'm going to switch over to the right page. The left page isn't completely done yet, but I'm going to come back to it. I kind of just jump back and forth when I'm doing my scrapbooking, so I'm going to come back to that page in a minute, but first I want to adhere some of the stuff down on the right page. I am going to be bumping up my speech bubbles on some foam adhesive along with that smiley face die cut as well. The one thing with when you're working with stitching on a page is sometimes the roller adhesives, like I use my ATG gun for when I'm doing my adhering, but that doesn't work as well when you're doing on the embroidery floss. So sometimes it's best to have like a little bit of a wet adhesive with you, just because on those elements it just sometimes sticks a little better when you're using the wet adhesive. So that's just some Tombow adhesive that I'm using for some of the elements as well. I just like to add, just a little bit of dimension. I do scrapbook. You've probably noticed this is a different size than, it's not 12 by 12 or 8.5 by 11, which are the standard sizes in scrapbooking. This is actually for a traveler's notebook size Life Crafted album. Most of my daily scrapbooking is in a traveler's notebook sized Life Crafted album. These are from Citrus Twist. I'll have pictures at the end with details so you'll actually see the albums there, but it is a 6-ring album and there's page protectors inside. I usually scrapbook in page protectors, but you can also do like outside of the page protectors. They've got pocket pages as well. But this is pretty standard for me, is to just scrapbook a double page layout inside page protectors. So that's the size that I'm doing right now. The pages measure about 4.25 wide by 8.25 inches tall. So I just use 2 pages of that. I have all my paper cut out to this size because I scrapbook in it so frequently. So I just buy white paper by the bulk and cut it down to these sizes, so I can just type up my journaling really quickly and get to my scrapbooking. So now I'm adding in some additional elements. I really like to have, especially when you're doing this color blocking technique, I really like to have kind of a variety of elements that I'm using. So I like to not only use like my paper die cuts, but I like to pull in puffy stickers, enamel dots, anything that's going to give a little bit of a different texture to the layout. So I just grabbed just a couple different elements from my stash that I thought might work, you know, some puffy hearts, some puffy stars, some puffy words, and then lots of different enamel dots. So you see that I used a couple puffy hearts and a couple puffy, I'll use a puffy word here in a minute as well, and I'm using some enamel dots here too. The enamel dots I believe are all from Citrus Twist, and I'm just scattering them around the page. I just love the tiny bit of color that they bring to an area, and I like the texture and the shine of enamel dots, so I tend to use them a lot on a page. They also don't add a ton of dimension. Since I do scrapbook in a smaller size, I don't like my pages to be overly dimensional, but I do like a little bit of dimension. So I really like that enamel dots kind of like are just like the perfect amount. So I did add this puffy word, and I just did that right over the page. I just felt like there wasn't enough of that aqua color on that page, so that sweet word just brought in the perfect amount there. So that's just about done. I'm going to add my date here just with my roller stamp, and I'm just going to stamp my date down here on the bottom, and then my page will be done. I'll have some close-ups here at the end so you guys can see everything up close and personal, and make sure you to check out the SCT blog, and I'll have all the details on there as well. Thank you so much for stopping by, and you guys have a great day. Bye.